this is Laverne Gill, and this is Reston's African Americans Legacy Program. I have as my guest today a longtime resident of Reston, and she's done just about everything there is to do in Reston, and so I'm going to let her tell you. Darlene Palmer, and my co-host is Eulene Bevins. Darlene Palmer, now, let's start from the beginning.
All right.
When did you come to Reston?
Well,
And how did you get here?
all right, how did I get here is important. My brother, Dr. George Tolbert, and his wife, Ora Hood, came here in the 70s. They loved it. They moved from Washington, D.C. to Reston, and they decided that their family needed to come here too. So 4 of his sisters, there are only 4, moved here.
All four?
Yes, we didn't move all at the same time. I
they
mean, we
still
were
here?
married with children and things like, I'm the only one still here. But that's how I came. And I loved Reston, loved the people he introduced me to. And my children started at
Lake Ann?
well, no, they started at South Lakes, and one of the things that I noticed is that all of the black children were in basic classes. And my children had always gone to private schools in Washington, D.C., where we were from. And
Are you from Washington?
well, we lived there many, many years. So the children, the girls went to Stone Ridge, and my son went to Gonzaga. I knew the superintendent of schools, Spillane, because he had been in Boston when I lived up in Boston. I went to Harvard and MIT, and so I didn't understand why black children were not in any of the advanced classes or on the student council. So I got a group of people together, we talked about it, and we went to see him. The principal was extremely angry because we went over her head. And we pushed this for a year. And not only that, but they didn't celebrate Black History Month. So
They didn't celebrate Black History Month?
Nothing.
I don't think they do that now.
Well, when I was there, we had the first Black History Month, and white children, black children, everybody participated. We had an amateur show. Everybody in the community, the restaurants and all, gave us tickets or money or something. And it was fantastic. And then that next year was the first time that children went into, it was just AP classes at that time. And the first black child that was on student council. So
Now, what year was this?
that got me active in Reston.
I think that got everybody active.
That made me begin to look at Reston, which was beautiful, but you kind of, there was this second class citizen. I mean, people weren't nasty to you or anything, but the children just didn't understand. And my parents had told us from a very young age, you got to go to college. And in order to go to college, you got to do well in high school and elementary school. And so that was my push with the kids. And that was the start of Darlene putting her hands in everything.
You were
In
involved in
Reston.
Jack and Jill also.
I was involved in Jack and Jill for many years. And then one of the things I realized with Jack and Jill is that they had their different organizations, but they had no representation nationwide. So I pulled together, talked to the board, wrote the White House, and I became their national representative, so that Jack and Jill went to many things that they had not gone to, had recognition and rewards. Sometimes people, if you don't say something, you're left behind. And that's sort of what I did.
Well, not everybody listening to this show understands Jack and Jill. So since you were the national voice for it, why don't you tell them what Jack and Jill is?
To me, Jack and Jill was a way of pulling the African American community together, teaching the children their history, and then teaching them what they could do, and also having them help or volunteer in the community. But the culture that it brought out in them, so that they were able to and did do things. The Kennedy Center, and went to plays and things like that. So they were, when they got ready to apply to college or to high school, they had the same background as the Caucasian kids. And Jack and Jill was wonderful, because it also brought all the black parents together. And it gave us a time to share. And I think one of the highlights for the children was the cotillion, because they had not had that. And so having the cotillion.
My two sons hated it.
Well, the girls love the dresses, so.
Well, I worked with the cotillion for 5 years, and the last year my son was supposed to be in the cotillion, but he refused. So I missed that part of it.
I think we have with the boys it's a little different.
It is. They don't see it the same way as
No.
the girls, and some of these things are changing, and we have to bring it back to them. And
Yeah, in a place like Reston, I think that Jack and Jill is necessary for black kids.
absolutely.
You know, but living in Washington, D.C., you don't necessarily need it.
Yeah.
But this is all around you, or at least it used to
That's
be.
where I started, in the Washington chapter of Jack and Jill.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
So-
realize that.
So your tenure, you came here in 19...
In the 80s.
Oh, in the
So
80s.
I came early 80s. My brother came in the 70s.
Okay.
And it took us a while, and then I was back in school, and so it took everybody. My sister, her house was being built, and what a lot of people don't know, when Reston first started, they couldn't get people to come, and so one of the things that they were doing, the realtor, is that if you commit to a house, you could put 20 or you could put $200 down, and you were going to have a house. So it wasn't, the prices and things like that. Yes.
That was to induce people to come here.
To get them here. And then more and more people came. And as they saw it, also, Reston schools were the first integrated schools. And Bob Simon said, I don't care. We're gonna have everybody here. Black people, white people. I mean, he was very definite.
You have written a
About-
book about him, haven't you?
Well, oh my God, I love that man. He's 101 when he passed. For years, we had talked about books and in passing, and we were going to do a table book. And then his wife Cheryl said, "Why don't you do a children's book?" And I thought, So we started off thinking of children's book, but he and I started writing January of this year, and the book is finished, but it's not published yet. It's more about his growing up.
Oh, it's
His-
history.
Yes, his family, him reaching the point of deciding to do Reston. His father was in real estate, and his father had built a community similar to this in New Jersey, but
Oh,
it was not.
That's New York. What was the community? What was the name of the community?
I don't remember it right
Oh.
now, but it was not as popular. And for graduation, what they did was they gave Bob a trip to Europe. And while he was there, he took pictures and wrote about different buildings. So Lake Anne really is Europe. And once he pointed out each building at Lake Anne to me and what it represented, I can never drive there and get out the car and see Lake Anne. So when he passed, it took me about a month to pull myself together. The book was finished, but it was being reviewed. And so I'm at that point now. I have 2 publishers looking at it and going over the book. My plan is to have it out this year, so that we started in 2016 and we finished, and let people know what he was like.
Is it for children or?
No, it's more for young people.
Okay.
Because I started it off as children, but I would say this would be more in the 7 to 14. Because as I did that also, I began to look up other children that came up with ideas at a very young age. I mean, Facebook, he started that in his garage, really, in elementary school, and the teacher said, if you don't stop this and do your schoolwork, you're not going to be in school. So,
Well, is this your first book?
this is yes, this, I have to stop and think. At MIT, I wrote a book on telecommunications, because telecommunications was just coming out, and that's what I was doing at the White House. But it was never to be published, it was
You
to
worked
be
at the
written.
White House?
Yes. I worked for President Carter, and my job was to represent him with telecommunications and all the new technology. And I had some engineers and lawyers, but I would go out and speak about it. And the other idea, or the other thing, was to get women into ownership of properties, because no women owned it, or to go onto Indian reservations and start telephone companies. So Carter did that,
Things.
and it was very successful,
Mm-hmm.
and it was fun. It was fun.
So tell us about the various boards and things you've been on
Oh my
since
gosh.
here in Reston.
Can I read them
Oh,
off
yes,
the
go
paper?
right ahead.
All right. Let's see. I was a member of the Reston Association, the Design Review Board,
Oh,
and that was good because everybody hated the Design Review Board.
yeah, I know. I think
And I would say to them, you know, the others were architects, and I would say, come here, let me come by and just think of this as free advice, so that you're not paying $200, but, you know, for somebody, an architect to tell you. So I loved doing that. And then the Board of Governors for the Reston Community Center, and we all know the center is wonderful, and it does everything, and the outreach. And then the Reston Citizen Association Board. And one of my favorite was Grace, because I love art.
Well,
There's
you were at
nothing
Fish
like
too, weren't
art.
you?
Fish, I was the president.
Yeah.
I worked there and I had my children to volunteer there for years. And then I became the vice president and the president of Fish. And then at South Lakes, I was on the theater board. And so I put my hand up a lot. I'm really good at doing this.
well, that's fantastic. Well, I know you've been on a number of boards. That's great.
And I just think that if you're in a community and you want to belong to that community, you want that community to be yours, that's what you have to do, you know.
So now, I was trying to think, how many children do you have?
I have 4 children.
Yes, and you do all of that good work.
Oh, they're all grown. They're all grown.
You have grandchildren?
And a lot of them I did because of their experience, and I wanted other kids to have their experience. And my oldest daughter became ill. She had a stroke and 2 aneurysms. So we raised her 4 children. So now I'm tired. I'm real tired.
Hey,
Is she in the area?
Yes, she is. She was at Cameron Glen, and then they moved to Sterling. But
Oh, wow.
she can't walk or talk.
oh,
But, you know, she's very happy. She smiles. She loves rubbing our arms. And my husband has this hat that he wears all the time. And she takes that off and wears it.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And the other kids are, they are very, very active. Jonathan runs a community center in St. Paul. But the other thing that he does is when there are problems, he goes out with the police and he will talk to people, because he's very good with that, and can help solve or calm things down. So I'm real proud of that. And then he loves comic books, so he has these different
Collection?
Yes. Oh, he must have over 1,000, but he has these different outfits, and then he gets the little children together in the community and in the school, and they just love it because they don't know who he is.
that's fantastic. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I want to ask you a sensitive question.
All right.
We, in a number of interviews, people have talked about the fact that a lot of their friends didn't move to Virginia until the Loving case, and that then they felt comfortable. but have you encountered any discomfort because you're in an interracial marriage?
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the reasons my brother it was
Mhm.
not in an interracial marriage, but said, you've got to come here. You'll
Oh.
love it.
Mhm.
And my feeling always has been, I'm going to check the community out before I go any place.
Mhm.
But now, you know, it's
Just commonplace.
yeah, we're just two people.
Yeah.
And I talk more than my husband, so
Yeah.
they talk to me a lot.
Well, that's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Because I think I was writing, and that came up, that
Mhm.
Reston became kind of a haven for people who were uncomfortable in Virginia because they were in mixed marriages.
It
Well,
certainly
I
was for me.
I think you have to be careful in a mixed marriage where you live. And I've always said, wherever I go, I'm going to rent for 6 months and see what the town is like, and then move there.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess as a child, our parents always taught us that we were as good as anyone else. We saw lots of mixed marriages, so we never encountered it,
Mhm.
never saw it. Actually, only one time, when we came here on our honeymoon, and we came out of Woodworth and Lutheran, a white woman started screaming at us, "Hey, you deserve each other, you deserve each other." And I thought, all right,
Yes, we
thank
do.
you.
Yes, we do.
But that was the only time, and she didn't even know us.
That's funny.
Yeah, so, yeah.
That's funny. Well, I want to share with you and the audience today. You were saying you like art. I want to share this
love
picture
art.
with you. Do you know the artist Tom McKinney?
I've heard of him.
Yes. And this piece of art comes from him, and he has a large collection of African American themed art. He has artists that he's drawn, and I think, and he also knows. But he has Miles Davis, and he has a number of
Famous people.
that he's painted. And this one is of a jockey, one of the early black jockeys in the 1800s, when blacks were jockeys in the races, and they were primarily there. They started cleaning the stalls and
And I
fixing up the
never knew
horses.
that.
Yeah.
Never knew that.
And then there was a wave of, well, I guess around about Jim Crow, and they kind of weeded them out. But the only jockeys were black jockeys because they were, you know, it was hard work.
Yes.
And they won a couple of derbies. And but I love the colors in that picture, and I love the look on that man's face.
This is just an excellent painting. If you look at his face and you see all of the different
stress.
strokes,
Yeah.
it's excellent, absolutely excellent.
He's
And now I know excellent art, but that is fantastic.
you like horses, Yulene?
I love horses. I used to ride a lot.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you ride when the horses were out here?
Yes.
My
That's
niece
why I
did
moved
too.
here, because of the horses.
Aura's daughter used to ride horses all the time.
Yeah, and was that an African American owned that the horses?
Oh, yes. It was an African American in McLean, Virginia. Jim Moss. Did you know Jim Moss?
His name is familiar, but I
Everybody
didn't know
knew him in this area because he was all over the place. He used to ride in weddings. You know, they had a big. They used to have these big weddings in Washington. He used to be the main person that would call on to ride, and he would always carry. He would, the bride was always. He would always ride with the bride.
some of the past
Uh-huh.
I would love to see come back.
Mm.
And the future, move
Especially,
it out of the
especially
way.
on Wheelie Road, Wheelie Avenue, where these cars come zooming in to go to the metro.
Yeah.
So is art your thing? Or you?
Antiques, your thing.
Actually, art and antiques. My husband and I have been married 50 years, and we started with antiques, and we've had 2 antique shops, and we're downsizing, and wherever we move, it'll be a shop with 207 pieces of art
Oh.
and antiques.
Well, you've got a lot. You've got quite an inheritance there.
Well, I really wish I could sell the art before I go.
Oh, have an art show.
You should have an art show. I
I'll
would
borrow
love to
one of
see
your
her.
homes.
Hey, you can borrow mine.
Everybody knows where she lives.
Darling, this has been wonderful.
Oh, this has
I've
been
enjoyed so much
so
talking to you.
much fun. I used to do this in upstate New York
Uh-huh.
when I was living there.
Uh,
And there's nothing like talking to people and finding out more about
Mm-hmm.
the subject you are dealing with.
well, I
And
wish you the
thank you.
best on your book.
Thank
We're
you.
looking forward to it.
Oh, you will know about it. It's going to be at the Art.
Okay.
That's where the opening will be.
Well, we want a signed copy.
Oh, you will get a signed copy. It'll cost a little more.
Oh, I thought you were giving it to us. This is Laverne Gill on Reston's African American Legacy, and Eugene Bevins, my co-host, and our guest, Darlene Palmer.
Thank you.
Until next time.